I love the Sunday scriptures. They seem to connect at least a bit with one of the themes that I've been reflecting on a lot the last several months, the ways that we deal with our inadequacies. My sense is that most of us, everybody I've met so far, carries with us a certain sense that we're inadequate to the things that we're called to do, but the ways that people deal with that inadequacy is more or less healthy, kind of on the spectrum of always beating oneself up to narcissistic personality disorder and everything in between, right? My reflection today won't be exactly that. I'll try to stay closer to the scriptures and less in pop psychology, but conversationally, just to kind of work through Isaiah and Peter's encounter with the living God, with the transcendent. And I, kind of somewhere between the two conversations, found myself this week thinking, as I was taking on a project and not particularly interested in having any help to do it, thinking that solitude suits me well because I like to be the smartest person in the room. An admission, not bragging rights by any means. But that when we are in relationship with the other, our own inadequacy is almost always exposed. Right? And that's true when we're in relationship, meaningful relationship with other people. Not to jump on Pope Francis's bandwagon for pet parents, but that's not true with cats and dogs, right? Cats and dogs don't show our inadequacies, but people do. And in relationship with other, we are forced to recognize our sin and our failing. That's true even in a secular humanist approach. But if we're brave enough in faith to face the transcendent, which we're not inclined to do, we'll find ourselves like Isaiah and like Peter, at the same time humbled and empowered, right? If the result of Isaiah encountering God was that he went crawling off into the corner, I couldn't recommend it. But after acknowledging his complete inadequacy before the transcendent God, he went and proclaimed God's word. If Peter, after he found himself open first to Jesus, who he had no idea was the transcendent God, and he threw out his nets again against his own limited experience, right? But then hauling in this catch of fish, kneeling before his God, if that humility, if that acknowledgement of his inadequacy led to him crawling off into the corner, then I couldn't recommend it. But it didn't. It led to him following Jesus. It led to him proclaiming God's word. It led to his confidence based in something real that included his sinfulness and his inadequacy. The last few weeks we've had an opportunity to talk about the difference between religion, faith, and magic, where we seek to control God. I think today's scriptures encourage us to look at the difference between faith, religion, on the one hand, and idolatry on the other. And not just the idolatry of the craftsman who forms gods out of gold and silver, but the idolatry of those who refuse to enter into relationship with the transcendent. We live in a time that prides itself on openness, but in fact, we're generally only open to ourselves and to the constructions of our own hands, our own minds, our own philosophies, our own work. We're very open to ourselves and to our stuff. And that's called idolatry, right? Our relationship with the work of our hands, as opposed to our relationship with the transcendent God, who forces us flat on our faces, sinners and inadequate before him, but also uplifts and empowers us to be better than we could ever create ourselves. Because in relationship with him, our horizons have grown, our possibilities have expanded, our life and our love have become something more than we would have ever been able to build or open ourselves to if we were only open to the philosophies and projects that we ourselves build. At the same time, it's important to remember, in Christianity, we're not looking to climb a mountain and find God at the top of a mountain. We're not looking to isolate ourselves in a monastery and find God in some chant. That Jesus shows us the transcendent God as he climbs into our boat and tells us to throw out the nets. That our encounter with transcendence, with God, overlaps with our encounter with the other. And maybe, if we stick to ourselves, we can be the smartest person in the room. But if we allow ourselves to be in relationship with others, if we allow ourselves to love and be loved, if we are vulnerable to the ways in which the other makes us inadequate, probably we won't be the smartest person in the room, but we'll be a lot smarter than when we were the only person in the room.